What if a person used to behave in a certain way, he did many positive things, and now his attitude towards those things is irreverent, and he essentially thinks he was acting foolishly to behave morally or properly. Therefore, Rambam says, "Kol misha niham al hamisvot she'asa," a person who regrets the misvot and the positive deeds that he has done throughout his life, with aha al zachuyoth, and literally is somewhat amazed and taken aback by his own behavior in the past, not in a positive sense, but in a negative sense. In other words, he says, "Amar b'libo." He says to himself, "Uma ho'alti ba'siyatham." What a waste of time all that was. I put out all this money on this miswah, or I did all these acts of hesed, or what have you. I shouldn't have bothered. Ulai lo asiti otan. Ulai means halavai, in the sense, ulai means halavai. In other words, I wish that I had never done these things. Hare ze ibed ef kulan. In other words, the kawana has an impact lemafreya. Just as teshuvah has an impact lemafreya, the opposite of teshuvah, which is true regret and remorse at having done the right thing, that also has a very real impact retroactively. Hare ze ibed ef kulan. All those zechuyot are lost to him. Wa'en mazkirim lo shem zechut ba'olam. Shem is like shum. In other words, it means it's the same thing. Which means none of those zechuyot will be counted to him. He has lost them all. Shene'emar v'sidkat sadiq lo tasilanu b'yom rish'o. How can that be? That a righteous man will not be counted as righteous. That can only be en za'ela b'thohe al horishonoth. This can only be understood, so Chazal explain it, when a person has a change of heart. In other words, what we see here is that the heart, the intention, the true spiritual, intellectual, philosophical, even existential reality of a person makes all the difference. If a person behaved terribly and sinned gravely for many years, maybe most of his life, and now has a true change of heart, that is teshuvah, that rewrites history. That rewrites the history. And the same can also work in the opposite direction. So then that's why Rambam talks about this here, for obvious reasons, because it is the opposite of teshuvah. And they both work retroactively. And that's a very important thing to recall and to be aware of. It is also a fact that throughout history and at the present time as well, many of the greatest evildoers are people who were brought up in a Torah lifestyle, in a religious home, religious mode of living, education, what have you, and turn their back on everything. And they are frequently extremely sincere, so to speak, in their remorse and in their change of heart. And they're very, very active and very motivated to act in the opposite fashion, more so than others. We see this time and again. And that is what the famous Yiddish expression states, a meshumad is schlecht wie a goy. A meshumad is generally much worse than a goy.